Hiya, how you doing? Welcome to GCSE Maths. Now for this first week I've recorded these little videos so that you can do the first week's assignment. Those of you that have used MathsWatch before are probably used to the very bright, cheery lady who teaches on the site. I'm sorry, but I don't do bright and breezy because I don't earn as much as her. So, sorry, you're just going to have to listen to me drone on. But I'll try and make it as interesting as possible. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to look at numbers themselves, okay? Because maths is littered with terminology which you may or may not be familiar with. Okay, so the first thing is integers. Okay, in exams you'll see the word integer. An integer is just a countable number. It's a whole number, no fractions, no decimals. So all of these numbers here are integers. Okay, so don't be afraid of the word. Now all numbers have particular properties, and in my world, in the maths world, all numbers are interesting. They probably aren't in yours, but in my world they're interesting. They all have particular properties. So first off, what we're going to do now is we're going to look at factors. Okay, so if we took the number 6, now 6, we could have, to get 6, we could get 1 times 6. We could also get 2 times 3, because 1 times 6 gives us 6 and 2 times 3 gives us 6. So the factors of 6, are 1, 2, 3 and 6. Okay, so factors are just numbers that divide into a particular number. That's all it is. So if we took 12, for example, so the factors of 12, so, and they tend to go in pairs, so that will help you a lot. So 1 times 12 will give you 12. 3 times 4 will give you 12. And 2 times 6 will give you 12. So the factors of 12 are 1, 12, 3, 4, 2 and 6. They don't have to be in order. As long as you state those numbers, then that's fine. So all of these numbers divide into 12. Okay, that's as difficult as it is. So factors are numbers that divide into other numbers. Now you may also come across the term, I'll just throw this in because I can, multiples. And multiples are just lots of. Okay, so multiples of 5 would be 5, 10, 15, 20 and so on. So you're just counting up in those numbers, okay, because 5 is one lot of 5, 2, 10 is 2 lots of 5, 15, 3 lots of 5 and so on. You get the idea. Okay, so factors are numbers that divide into a number. Multiples are just lots of. that number. Okay, so then we get to prime numbers. Now, primes have a particular property. Okay, primes can only be divided by themselves and 1. Okay, so they have no other factors except themselves and 1. So for example, 15, we know 1 and 15 go into 15, so that's fine, but we also know that 3 and 5 go into 15, so 15 cannot be prime. If we look at 14, 1 and 14, yeah, that's fine, but 2 and 7 go into 14, so that cannot be prime. Now 13, 1 and 13 both go into 13, but no other numbers go in there. Okay, well, not without a remainder, well, we don't use remainders at GCSE level, but not with fractions or decimals. So 13 is a prime number. Now 12, you're probably already ahead of me, but we know as we seen down here that 3, 4, 2 and 6 also go into 12, so that cannot be prime. 11, yeah, that must be prime because only 1 and 11 go into 11. 10, well, 5 and 2 go into 10, so that can't be prime. 9, well, 3's going to 9, so that can't be prime. 8, 4 and 2 go into 8, so that can't be prime. 7, so only 1 and 7 go into 7, so 7 is prime. 6, as we saw down here, 2 and 3 go into 6, so that cannot be prime. 5, now only 1 and 5 go into 5, so that is prime. 4, 2 goes into 4, so that stops it being a prime. 3, only 1 and 3 go into 3, so 3 must be prime. 2 is an interesting one. Well, in my world it's interesting. Only 1 and 2 will go into 2, so 2 is prime. Now 1 is not prime because 1 goes into 1 and it goes into all other numbers, so 1 cannot be prime. Okay, I know that you would think that because only 1 goes into 1 it will be prime, but it can't be a prime number because 1 divides into everything, in which case then that would make all numbers prime, so it's not prime. Okay, now if we look at the prime numbers that we've got, 13, 11, 7, 5 and 3, they're all odd, but 2 is even. And 2 is the only even prime number in the universe. Okay, so 2 is well worth remembering as a prime. And people often forget it, but it's very important that you remember that 2 is a prime. Okay, so integers we know are just countable numbers. Factors are just numbers that divide into other numbers. Primes are numbers that can only be divided by themselves and 1. Now, products of primes. Now, the word product, you may have seen this when you did your assessment. The word product means to multiply. Okay? So when we're talking about products of primes, we're saying what primes multiplied together would give you a particular number. So if we go to 6 again, so 6. So what prime multiplied by what prime will give us 6? Well, we know that 2 times 3 gives us 6. And they are both primes. So 6, the products of the primes that give us 6 is 2 times 3. Okay? So if we took, for example, 15, and we look at our primes 2, 3, 5, 7, 11 and 13, we know that 3 times 5 will give us 15. A prime times a prime gives us this number. Okay, this is what we call a composite number because it's not prime, but it is built of primes. Okay, prime numbers are the building blocks of all numbers. So if we were to look at 12, there are no two numbers that we can multiply together that are prime that will give us 12. So what we can do is this. We just choose a number that's prime that we know will go into 12. So the first number that comes to mind is 2. Okay, I know 2 will go into 12 and I know 2 is a prime. Now if I divide 2 into 12, I get 6. So now what I do is I look at 6 and I think, okay, well what prime goes into 6? Again, 2 or 3, it doesn't matter. But if I put 2 here, 2 goes into 6 3 times. And 3 is a prime. The remainder is a prime. You will always have a remainder as a prime. So this prime that we're left over with, we put on the end. Okay? And then what I do is I multiply everything out to make sure it gets me to 12. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 3 gives me 12. Okay? So let's say we've got 20. So if I want the products of the primes, I choose a prime that goes into 20. So let's try 5. Because I know 5 goes into 20 and it's a prime, and I need to multiply it by something. So now I divide that prime into 20. So 5 into 20 goes 4. So now what prime goes into 4? Now 2 we know goes into 4. And I divide 2 into 4 and that gives me 2. And as I said before, we're left with a prime which is 2. So we drop that remaining prime at the end. Okay, so we get 5 times 2 times 2 is 20. So 5 2s are 10 and 2 10s 20. It really is that simple. Okay. Let's give you another one. So let's say we've got 24. So we choose a prime that will go into 24. So let's take 2. We'll take an easy prime. And then we divide that prime into 24. So 2's into 24 goes 12. So again, we want another prime that goes into 12. So we could use 2 again, or we could use 3. And 2 into 12 goes 6. Now we want another prime because we've not exhausted our numbers here. So we need another prime that goes into 6. So again, 2 will go into 6. And 2 goes into 6 3 times. And 3 is the remainder, and 3 is prime. So we drop that prime at the end. So 24 as a product of its primes is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. So 2 2's are 4, 2 4's are 8, and 3 8's are 24. So I know that's correct. Now what we can do is, instead of writing this huge list, so because if I was asked to find the product of primes of 120, I would have a huge line of numbers. So what we can do is we can abbreviate this a little bit. So 24 as a product of its primes is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. So we've got 3 2's there that are being multiplied. So we can say that that's 2, and because it's got 3 2's being multiplied, we can write to the power of 3. Okay, because 2 to the power of 3 is just 2 times 2 times 2. The power tells you how many times you're going to multiply this number by itself. So 2 to the power of 3, and then don't forget we've got to multiply by 3. Okay, so 20, we had 5 times 2 times 2. So we could write that as 2 to the power, because we've got 2 2's, we write to the power of 2, and then don't forget the 5, so we write times, that's a 5. Okay, I know it looks like a 6. Let's rub it out so I don't confuse you. So this is 2 to the power of 2 times 5. Okay, now this is not life or death, and you don't have to do it this way, but sometimes they will ask you to put it in its shortened form. Okay, so I'm hoping that you've understood how we find the products of primes. Okay, you use this when you'll find the highest common factor and the lowest common multiple. Okay, so you have a worksheet, and I'm hoping that you've got enough information here that you can work your way through the worksheet on factors and primes and products of primes. As I've said in my email to you before, I'm online on Mondays and Thursdays, so if you've got any problems, please do not hesitate. Please come online and I'll try and explain this again or expand on it so that you can understand. Okay, I hope this has helped, and I'll go on to the next video.